Good morning and welcome to today's morning show. As we are looking forward today, you notice that the title of this video for today, of this live show, is Watch Out for the Dollar's Warning. And the dollar is warning that it is completely basing out in this area. We paid attention to those signals, talking about how this would play out, and over right in this area, we were like, okay, what if we create 2-hour divergences from here? We just said, what if we create that double bottom? All of that ended up happening, and we head to the upside now, haven't even curled down on a 2-hour. Now, this can back off at any time for some kind of pullback as we get to overbought, but as this starts to scale up, now we say, okay, the 4-hour is going positive with the divergence down here at the lows as well, and a rejection divergence, and the daily is now crossing. So all of those signals did lead to the daily crossing. Now we have to kind of pay attention going forward and seeing what's happening going forward. Sorry, get a little bit of the hiccups, but something key to look for today is, are we going to see more of that selling come in? It seems like every single day we see, or at least the last few days, we've seen the dollar actually head higher while stocks head higher, and that leads to some kind of downturn at the end of the day. So let's just pay attention to that, because in the last 2 hours of trading, downturn, right? So we have to pay attention to it. Now we noticed that the dollar was doing the opposite in this area. What happens at the end of the day? Upturn, okay? So we're really paying attention to what that dollar is doing. Looks like the PCC still has been sitting mostly in the middle. Just note that most likely, I think the first reaction might be the wrong one soon. Like if we see a big move up or a big move down, we got to pay attention to how people are positioned and pay attention to that dollar. As of right now, for the SPY, if you're not part of Patreon, on Patreon, you know, it's $7 a month. We give every single Friday. You'll get the daily expected moves for every single stock that we cover. That does include Microsoft, Google, Palantir, NVIDIA, AMD, a bunch of different stocks. And you can really utilize those on a Friday with expiration as far as profit taking. If you need to learn around how to use these type of things, use these weekly ranges, use things like divergence, use things like the MACD, use things like the RSI, well then this is going to be your last chance to really get that course that's down in the description, okay? The technical indicators course and the swing trading course down there. Both of those are very good for starting out, but one of them really goes in depth, and I highly encourage, with how the market has been behaving, that you take a look at that technical indicators course on how to trade around these weekly expected moves, okay? Because that course is really going to help you out in case we go into some period of volatility for an extended period of time, something that I'm kind of leaning towards in the next couple of weeks as we look for curl ups on a 2-hour. So one is saying, hey, if you're patient, and you see a swing trade signal, hey, that's a good trade. That's one of the courses. And then the other one will tell you, hey, this needs to be paid attention to. You need to make sure to manage your trade and all that good stuff. So it is something that is 90% off. It is something that will not go back down to this price point. And the weekend is a great time to try to learn before a new Monday comes out. And you can back test, you can look at charts all weekend and do kind of what I did when I started out with technical analysis. And that's really study it to a T, really figure out how you're going to react to things. And the good part is I've taken tons of courses. I've paid thousands of dollars for courses. My courses are cheaper so that anyone can learn, because I'm here for the retail trader. I'm here to help. And I really want people to get that good baseline, get that good energy, get that good understanding and discipline and accountability, so that you can know, hey, this did cross over right over here. So is there a reason for upside ever since these moments over here? No, there's not. So we move sideways, which is something that we stated could happen. Now we get that 2-hour down by that center line. And now that course would help you say, okay, if we get that to cross up, what happens? Well, we might head to a weekly expected move next week. So that's something to pay attention to. As we bounce up, we always have to pay attention to this thing curling up. Make sure, if you are wanting to learn about this, if you've really been hurting, if you weren't able to catch the short squeeze like we did, well, we just used a simple signal down here from NVIDIA to catch that. And the course is literally going to tell you exactly what to do around that, exactly how to play it, exactly how to manage your trade. Something very, very important, because this market can really rip you apart if you're not managing that trade. So this might say, hey, what if this pops up like this and then it crosses down, right? And then it crosses down. And then we go, okay, this is the moment where we could actually see things tear down a little bit because we have a 2-hour divergence. And then let's just say that rips up one more time. The course will help you in managing this scenario so that you know that you were right. Your timing was just maybe a little bit off, or maybe you were wrong and we're actually going to head higher over time. So either way, managing the trade can really help you out there. It's something that we push on this channel a lot. We call it trading like water. Being adaptable is very, very important. Highly encourage people to go look at that course over the weekend if you're trying to learn a little bit. And you can always ask us about it. I believe down in the description it says it is ending on August 31st. I always like to leave the course when it is on a sale at least through the next Monday. So if people see it over the weekend, see something about the course over the weekend, they can join us during the live show on Monday before they purchase, ask some questions. Our community is great about answering questions of how it has helped them. And I think that's something very, very cool that not a lot of people do. A lot of people, it's like you buy their course, you try to ask about it on their live show, half of them don't even go live, and the other ones, they don't answer any kind of emails or anything like that. I'm trying to get better about answering emails, but you can email me. I give that out in the course plenty of times if you have any questions. So we're thinking about adding in possibly some one-on-one time. We're going to have to see if that comes to fruition over the next couple of weeks. If I can really set aside some times, I have to find a schedule for that. But it seems some people interested in also getting some one-on-one. I would just encourage people to take the course first so you have a good baseline. You understand a few things, because I don't want to spend the whole 2 hours just teaching you what the course would overall teach you, right? The course really would teach you how to understand the MACD, understand the RSI, understand divergence, understand the weekly ranges, which we go over, and we teach you how to even make those for any stock that you're looking at with a very simple thing. But that alone would help in really advancing you forward in your trading strategies. So we'll pay attention to all these things today, look at some technical analysis throughout the day, but the simplest way to put it is if the 2 hour can do that, hey, maybe we're in for something a little crazier today. We'll find out as the dollar is still heading higher, right? The dollar is still heading higher while the market's heading higher. That's something to pay attention to. Volatility showing some small signals here, okay? I just wanted to show how volatility is holding up better. You do have a divergence. If this were to pop off, say, by the end of the day, well, that would make some sense. We have a divergence on the MACD. Let's go check if that's on the RSI, and it is. So you do have a divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time. If you would turn back up from here, that would mean volatility has a good shot to come in pretty strong. So let's pay attention to that going forward. As we look forward, we can go over to the Qs and get those daily expected moves, as we've shown the SPY a bunch this morning. We just want to say that 478.40, that's as high up as the options market is pricing in an upward move. If we get above that, you have a 68% chance to land down, something that the course can really help you understand, right? We really break this down for you in the course and why this is our 68% zone. And then to the downside, we do have 462.92. So not necessarily leaning towards this. I think we either continue to see that sideways price action or we actually see something crazy. So we'll pay attention to this. You guys know I'm leaning towards some kind of upward move into September 6th. And I think that jobs data is what you really have to pay attention to. Like I said this in one of my videos, and I hope it landed. What was the Fed paying attention? What is everyone paying attention to right now? Rate cuts. So what is the Fed, who controls those rate cuts, paying attention to? Well, they said they do not want to see further cooling in the jobs market, right? So in that job data, they don't want more cooling. They do not want higher unemployment. They do not want lower jobs. So that just tells me I need to be paying attention to that. When does that come out? September 6th. So September 6th is going to be really important. And that is before they make their interest rate decision. So if those numbers come in and they are bad for the Fed, they actually could raise by more than 25 basis points. You guys know that I've been talking about this for like 2 weeks. I said they are most likely going to cut by 25 basis points if everything's okay. If everything is not okay and they need to react quickly, that would be a 50 basis point, a 75 basis point cut all of a sudden. And that is when we can see downturns in the market. That uninversion can really lead to some downturns in the market. And we're very, very close to still seeing that. We're hovering right at that range. All we would maybe need is a little piece of data, and then that can really shake some things up. All right, guys, good morning. I hope everyone's ready for a good day in the market today. I'm excited. I think we have an entertaining market, that is for sure. And this morning we did get a PCE of 0.2, which is coming in at consensus. Personal income coming in at 0.3, a little bit higher than the consensus. Personal spending coming in at 0.5, which was kind of expected by the consensus, but the forecast only supposed to be 0.2. Previous was 0.3. So you still have a moment where personal spending is exceeding personal income, which means a couple things. It could mean that people are going into more debt because it's over their income, but it overall just means that people are spending more than what they are actually taking in, and that's not necessarily a recipe for success over time. Now, next week we do have I believe a day off on Monday, but going into Tuesday, we do get the ISM manufacturing PMI. Okay, so that is something big to pay attention to. And then next week, once we start to get the jobs data, that's when you really want to pay attention. September 4th, we get the JOLTS job openings. And then on September 5th, Thursday, we do get the ADP employment change, and then we get initial jobless claims as well as the ISM services PMI. And then after that is the big day. This is going to be the big day. I highly encourage you put this on your charts. Or at least mark it off, put it in your notes, put it somewhere that on Friday of next week, we will get non-farm payrolls. This number can be fudged. Unemployment rate, a lot harder to be fudged, all right? So unemployment rate is not forecasted to rise. It's supposed to come in pretty even. Non-farm payrolls is supposed to go up, okay? So where this could actually get a little bit ugly is if this number comes in low and this number comes in high, okay? That's what I want to keep my eye on as of next week is the jobs data. All right, good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? Lil AR15 expecting a pump and dump like yesterday. Well, as of right now, I think the dollar would be with you on that for the time being. We'll see how things open up. We'll see how things react. We'll see if momentum can confirm itself to the upside. But for the most part, we just have to say, the dollar's higher and the market's going higher, which could hint into some insider selling there. So some selling behind the curtain. Jonathan agreeing a little bit. It's funny because a trade R sidebar and support resistance breaks. It's funny how many ways there are to trade. Exactly. There's tons of ways to trade. And that's why if I do one-on-one work, I want to make sure we're all on the same page of like the style that I like to do. Obviously, I know other styles and I know other things. But I want to really keep this focused on something that I'm really good at, right? You wouldn't go to, say, not comparing myself, saying I'm a Shaquille O'Neal of trading or anything like that. That's not true at all, right? I'm still working my way up. I'm still in the semi-pro league, in my opinion, but I'm getting there. And so what I want to do is say, would you go to Shaq for advice on how to play soccer? It's like, well, you know, we've actually seen Shaq juggle. He can juggle a ball. He can probably kick pretty well, but would you really go to him to learn soccer? And that's kind of the thing. So as we get into one-on-ones and things like that, I'd really like it to stay centered around the understanding of the MACD, when to enter, divergences, any questions along those lines, weekly ranges. I think a lot of those people could use some help with. How do I sign up for the one-on-one work? We're still working on those details right now. I'm still working on a schedule with my wife. I still have to help with baby girl a lot of the time. That's why I've really been kind of holding back from doing that work. Recently, just 2 nights ago, Jay, thank you so much for subscribing, by the way, but just a few, I think it was 2 nights ago, she started rolling over in her sleep. And that's one thing that she's not the best at. She's talking like crazy. She's sitting up like crazy. She's doing pretty much everything she needs to do. We're like, she's just a little behind on rolling. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just starts in the middle of the night rolling over, and we'll look at the little cam and see, and she'll be staring at you on her belly. We're like, oh no. Oh gosh. Oh, am I? Yeah, let me know if I'm cutting off or anything like that. It is storming here, so I'm hoping everything can hold up pretty well. Okay, so some people are hearing some cutoffs. Well, hopefully that doesn't continue. It is storming outside, so I apologize for that. We will try to make sure this mic's close enough to me. Sometimes I turn away from the mic. Maybe I'll do a keep letting me know if it does keep cutting out. Maybe I'll listen to myself for a little bit here. Make sure things are okay. Alrighty, market's about to open up in about 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes left. I really like to pay attention to the Qs from this standpoint, just because there's more implied volatility for the Q, so we can see some more rip around type of moves. Alrighty. I hate listening to myself, but I feel like I have to make sure I'm not cutting out. I wish I could change the positioning of my mic too. All right, we're good. All right, good morning, Freddie. How you doing? Freddie Hazard. I call you Hazard like you were that soccer player. Oh, we got some updates from Just Joe. I love it. Thanks, and you. I'm doing pretty good. I'm having a good morning. I can't complain. My wife woke up in a little bit of pain, though. And of course, me being me, I gave her a nice dead leg to start the morning, and she wasn't happy about that, guys. Usually she's happy about my dead legs in the morning, but she was not happy about it this morning. She's in a little bit of pain. I did not know that before the dead leg, okay? Yeah, my headache lasted like all day. It sucked. I'm not gonna lie. That was awful. I did not have fun with that. I genuinely did not have fun with that. I was like, ow, my head is killing me. And it lasted pretty much all day, so couldn't really watch a TV, couldn't look at charts too much, couldn't do much. So I didn't want to come out and give you guys some technical analysis when I'm in that kind of state. I feel like that's not fair to you guys. So yeah, I literally have a big water with me right now. Oh, I just punched the mic. But I literally have a big water with me right now because sometimes I'm not the best at that. I drink my coffee and then I just kind of sit there. Oh yes, that was a migraine, all right. It was definitely a migraine. I felt nauseated half the day, so I know. One thing that I noticed something coming out recently was, at least in my city, the government is cutting back on a lot of funding to hospitals. So a ton of people today and on Monday are losing their jobs at hospitals around my city. I wonder if that's happening anywhere else. Kind of unfortunate there, honestly. All right, Tesla is starting to see that strong move. We'll see if that can curl up on a 2-hour chart. Apple is in the red as of now. Now, Apple does have reversal signals here. A little bit worried about Apple. Remember, we talked about this flat divergence that can form because that would be a significant one on the MACD. So if that rolls over from here, that is a weakness in momentum. Obviously, you want to look at those 30 minutes, right? We want to see if those 30 minutes are curling up for another moment. Not really showing the most reversal of signals, right? You have a divergence on the RSI, kind of flat. Nothing really going on the MACD, so this all could be a pullback, head higher, and then we could see one later on. Yeah, it's a great move from GME. The only thing I'm paying attention to for today, I believe max pain for GME is somewhere around 2150, right? 2150. So I'm assuming we'll end the day near 2150. And then gold was what Mark probably wanted to look at today. And you're noticing what? Another point of divergence, another form of tightness. This looks great to head to the upside, but you always want to look for the bearish case too in case you are wrong, right? This looks like it possibly could be some kind of left, maybe a head, maybe that right shoulder, right? But if that does not break up above these levels and you don't see those curl ups, then you can start to break down. You can start to break down fast. This 30-minute does have divergence there. The 2-hour is rejecting because of it. You have multiple divergences for gold right now, and it looks like the dollar could be popping very soon. So as you go over to like a daily chart or something like that, you're just going to notice what? Hey, this has divergence. It has a flatness on the MACD. It has a downward move on the RSI. You have divergences all across this right here on the RSI, right? So you see that little downward move. So if we start to curl down, that's going to mean most likely we are going to experience a bigger pullback, maybe to something down here again towards 228, maybe something even more. Maybe we need to go down and head all the way down towards a 220 or something like that. But what is this? What can we really think about from this? If you don't trade gold, you can still use gold as a good indicator of itself. If gold is going to drop down, most of the time that means the dollar is going to go up, actually. So if gold rotates down, the dollar can rotate up. And what are you noticing? Right when gold shows a few reversal signals, the dollar starts to cross up on this daily MACD. So we can pay attention to that going forward. But for the most part, we would say, hey, the dollar turning up, gold turning down, that means the dollar is going to see some upward price action most likely. And that could mean, what are they getting out of? Well, they could be getting out of assets right now. So you are seeing a moment where the dollar is higher while the market is higher. And that's what we pay attention to on this channel. So as we look into it, we still got to see if 2 hours are confirming up, because if that momentum curls up, well, that still could mean the dollar and the market could kind of do the same move for a while, where the dollar goes up while the Qs and the SPY go up. And then we would pay attention to any kind of reversal signal that we see here, like a little 2 hour divergence. So we'll see what's going to happen with this guy going into tomorrow with a bunch of jobs data. GME is trying to curl up right now. Yeah, something to pay attention to still is that daily scale. I would really look for the 2 hour first for AMC. This kind of blip that happened. Now we can see if that 2 hour can rotate back up. GME already curled up on that 2 hour, and you actually had a sneaky form of divergence here. You're looking at the top of this bar, okay, and the actual lowest point was with this bar. So if you pull from this point, the close, right, the close of the bar down to the close of this bar, it's a downward direction while your MACD is going up, while your RSI is staying pretty flat. Now it's a little bit down here, so you do have an argument to stand on there to say like, hey, this is just going to be some kind of pop and drop. But for the most part, you would say if this can go positive, if we can start to curl up on a daily scale, that's going to be a good sign. And so daily is turning up here. This is when you really have to pay attention to GME. This is when a big move can happen going into next week. So myself, I actually bought more GameStop and more AMC on this little drop, and even a little bit before it. So I'm starting to scale in just a little bit more with GME and AMC, nothing too crazy. I already have my overall position, and then I'm just going to go, okay, if this crosses up now, then I can be pretty confident that that's going to see a good move. We're getting closer to 23.57. We'll give you that updated level on Sunday for if something crazy is going to happen. This is a big sign, though. That's a big sign, and it's on a Friday, right? So if it happens on a Friday, you always got to watch out because crazy things can happen over the weekend. Alrighty. Let's make sure all my stuff is up here. Josh, what's your thoughts on using Seeking Alpha? I mean, I've looked at Seeking Alpha before. I don't think it's like something that I use on the daily or anything like that. I think it might be a good source of news, or maybe getting some take on what a lot of individuals think about the market, right? But I haven't used it enough to really make too big of a comment on it. I would just say I've looked at it before, and sometimes I say I would look over at it, but for the most part, I barely look at it, to be totally honest. So yeah, if it's something that you like to use, we say that all the time. If you have a tool that I do not use and you like to use it, if you're using it correctly and it helps you, then I think that's perfectly fine. I'm just being genuine about that. I think that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't say bad things about something that you use if it's working for you, right? Now, if you comment on something that I am more familiar with than, say, something like Seeking Alpha, and I have a comment on it, you can take that with a grain of salt. Once again, if it doesn't help me, that doesn't mean it can't help you. I'm just trying to share mostly with people all the things that have helped me. Pretty much the entire course is exactly how I view the market. Every single, like I said, I've taken multiple courses for thousands of dollars. And a lot of those courses, I only end up using like one or two things. And it's kind of a bummer. They really string it out. They give a ton of info and it's like, okay, that's great, but what actually helps me to trade, right? At the end of the day, you need to know things that actually help you with trading. And so that's what we overall do, is I take whatever I've learned, whatever things I've learned that has made me a decent trader, and then I want to share that info with you guys, right? So everything in the courses that I put out, I see as very, very useful and very, very key things. And I think you'll feel the same once you guys take that course. So it's down there in the description. You have the weekend to grab that thing. Good morning, Morpando. How you doing today? Tried to rescue Big just Joe. Seeking Alpha is expensive. Yeah, I've never really purchased it. I think at one point they had like a free trial, so I gave it a go. But other than that, yeah, it's not really my cup of tea. Just need to find some time to study them. Yeah, and they're like pretty to the point, I would say. But it's a course that you more so would be like, okay, let me watch this section again if you're struggling with something. If you're still struggling on entries with the MACD, just go over that MACD section again, just to understand, like, maybe I need to understand the positioning of the MACD a little bit better. Maybe I need to pay attention to that and say, okay, maybe I need to pay attention to how I can kind of not predict, but be aware of something that can form in the future, right? Maybe I need to go over divergences again, just to make sure I have a good tackle on that. Maybe I just need to go through charts for the whole weekend and then revert back to the course to make sure that I'm seeing things correctly. I think that would be a good idea. And a lot of the time we do say zooming out to a daily chart can really help you, right? If you zoom out to a daily chart, you just go, okay, well, what would be the bad thing to happen here? Well, if this curled over on the MACD, it's close to the center line, right? And then we saw divergence at the high. What did that divergence lead to? You want to think, why the course talks about divergence so much? Flatness, slightly down on the RSI. What happened shortly after that? Well, we curled over on this bar and plummeted. So it really can help you even on the daily scale. If you really zoom out of things, you can catch major moves, which is very cool. Now, it doesn't play out all the time. So you always want to be like, okay, if this curls up by that center line, then that can make another upward move. That didn't happen. We went further negative. Then we curled up and we saw the reversal signals from NVIDIA down there to help us know, hey, this has potential to short squeeze. So all of those things can really be learned in the courses down in the description, which is fantastic. But for now, we got to see if we're going to go to a daily expected move. Kind of interesting to me that we've been seeing big daily expected moves, but it seems like we're having liquidity issues, and I'm just being genuine. This and this, we have not really touched those moves too much throughout the week. We kind of sit in this dead area. We'll see a little rip down, and then we just rip right back up. We'll see a rip up, and then we'll just stay at this level and rip down. So really just more so sideways price action, not necessarily hitting these daily or weekly expected moves just yet. And that's interesting. It could mean that we're having some liquidity issues from the market maker. The first candle for GME looks utterly fraudulent, and that's the thing about today is I think the max pain is sitting around 2150, so I'm really expecting us to kind of struggle and just sit right in this area throughout the day. Same thing for AMC. We know that that's right around what, $5, so I expect us to kind of sit around that $5 level throughout the day. It's Friday. That's just all we know on Fridays. That they're going to end AMZ around $5 and GME around probably its max pain around 2150. Upstart, I heard this one was pretty good. I think it was Diana. Was this one pretty good for you? So for the most part with Upstart though, I want you to see the divergence that just happened. I really want you to see that because that is rejecting now. All these little turn-ups, hey, that's great. That means more positivity. This time you rejected, you're getting close to that center line, which means we can experience a daily pullback at any time. Now, I'm just talking about a daily pullback, and that's just because the MACD positioning, right? That can really help out my thinking, right? To not think every single time this MACD turns down that something really bad has to happen. No, actually, when it turns down in this area, a lot of the time you'll just see some kind of consolidation and then that turns right back up. right? And we curl down and we curl back up. So that's something that can really help you out in the courses down there, just knowing the positioning of the MACD. Where is that MACD? How close is it to the center line, right? That's very, very good. What time frames that I really enjoy are the daily for regular trading hours for stocks in the stock market. It would be the daily, the 2 hour, and the 30-minute. And then if you're looking at things that trade after hours, things like Bitcoin, futures markets, anything like that, then the lowest time frame I look at is a 2 hour. I look at a 2 hour, a 4 hour, a daily, and weeklies. Baba did make a good move. All right, let's go check on Baba just for a slick little moment here. Baba making a good move. So what does this look like from our perspective? Well, are we going to go actually a little bit higher with a 2 hour able to curl up? It curled up as of now. Now that's a big move to start the morning. So it's probably not like a one that you're like, oh, I just want to jump in right away. I get that. We want to look at that 30-minute getting very, very overbought. So what can happen from here is I would really like to see this still base out a little bit and then curl up, make sure that that's still going to happen. For the most part, this seems like well, there was no divergence down here. There's no real hints. It just seems like a nice pop-up of the 2 hour that happened a lot in the pre-market. So these ones are ones that are kind of like, damn it, I wish that this just went like this, that price action built up from here, because if that would have happened, then you have an entry. But as of right now, you're a little excited. It's still like, hey, I can take a chance with it. But if that 30-minute does rotate down, then I know negativity is here. So it's just something to be a little cautious with at this moment, in my opinion. Volatility starting to curl down yet again, looking for a little 30-minute signal for today. If that keeps going down, then most likely we are seeing some kind of squeezing take place again. We have to look for reactions around that 200, but if we're able to close below that, you might have bought yourself a few days of positivity. Thoughts on save for the 2 hour? Good old Spirit. First of all, the daily scale, a lot of divergences down here, getting close to the center line. So it looks like we're trying to taper out for a good solid move. What's the 2 hour look like? Well, the 2 hour looks like what? Some flat divergences. A double bottom is what it kind of looks like to me. So as we look at that, we see the MACD still heading in that upward direction. Fantastic. And we have this flatness of the RSI, a little upward move on the RSI across the way. So what does that tell us? That tells us that this could be a double bottom right now. That tells us that this could be a double bottom, and it's just, I'm going to call it divergence because it's so close. But for the most part, we'd say this could be just a double bottom in some way, and that is going to turn up a daily chart. So that 2 hour confirming says positivity is likely here. It is probable, and you want to see if that daily chart is able to reject back up, and that's exactly what's happening. So if that holds throughout the day, you can see probably a big move going into next week. I would just say this. We run into trouble a lot of the time around the 50, so I wouldn't expect too much more than the 50, but you're kind of hoping to break through that level to go try to test something a little higher up, maybe a breakdown area towards 341. If you go a little bit higher, then I'd say these levels up here held as resistance towards $4. Thank you, Lizard. Really appreciate it. Like the live stream. Looks like we're seeing some upside there for some options. That's always fantastic. We love to see some green on our options, don't we? We like to see a 75% gain. That's all I'll say. For the most part, for SoFi, curled up on the daily, great curl up, great move. We pay attention to where that resistance could come in. You're pretty much breaking above that. That's fantastic. So what can you see from now on? And I think the first thing you want to do is just look at the positioning of your 30-minute and say, okay, there is divergence across this, right? We see that on the RSI, right? Not necessarily on the MACD though. So what does that tell us? It tells us, hey, we could see a little bit bigger of a pullback. We could see a pullback. That would be nice, right? You pull back on the 30-minute, maybe you go down to a price point of about 750, and then you're able to curl up over time. So we're looking for this 30-minute to do something like that. That would be the next signal for a possibly good trade. That's how I see it. As far as momentum goes, I think you could see momentum shift down for a brief moment and then curl right back up. And I think that's the most probable thing for SoFi at this moment. As we see this morning, I just wanted to point out that we do have a PCC coming in at 0.69. We have the dollar rising, crossing up on a daily MACD while that happens. So I would really be expecting, hey, we could see some kind of rig move to the downside. Now, is that going to build up, and then come down at the end of the day like we've been seeing a lot of? I think that's something to pay attention to. And Life with Cohen's talking about that PCC as well. Good job. You're paying attention to the right things. 0.69 is very, very high. I've got to decide. I have a decision to make here. I did take a small GameStop option. Actually, yesterday with this curl up, just seeing this 30-minute look like this, right? A little bit of a divergence, playing that. It's up like 75% right now. I'm thinking if I want to take that and then look for a play to the downside at this moment because the dollar is showing that basing out signal. But then I go, do I really sell that? I have a longer outdated option. I'm just now curling up on the daily. So it's like, am I going to fight against, am I going to try to go with the stock to see something crazy for once, or am I just going to take profit? That's kind of what I'm playing with this morning. Thoughts on Mara? First thing I like to do, check Bitcoin. Check Bitcoin. What's happening? The daily is rolling over as of today. So if that rolls over, I'm probably not touching Mara. But as we look at Mara, we can say what could happen here. Hey, 2 hours probably crossed over. It's by that center line. If that curls up, good things. But the 4 hour probably has crossed down. So the 4 hour crossing down at this moment means negativity is the most likely option. Palantir trying to see that 2 hour curl up as well. Yeah, I just got to see what I want to do with this guy. It's curling up on the daily for once, like, right? The daily, that's when I should be a little bit more excited for upside, right? We curl up on the daily, what happens shortly after right in this area? Well, we get an update. We curl up on the daily here, what happens? We get a major update. We curl up on the daily over here, what happens? We see upside for a long time. We curl up right here on the daily and a little bit more upside. This one kind of flat this time. This was the last time that we really curled up and it was flat. It's like kind of one of the only times out of the 4 times you've crossed up, you've seen big moves. This is the only time you didn't. So I'm kind of like, is this going to be a big move? It's not hurting me to hold that option at this moment. Maybe I'll kind of see like if a 30-minute wants to cross back down, then I can go, okay, downside is the most likely option here. I think you guys are right. I think you guys are right. Thanks for keeping me on my toes here. Alrighty, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna look through some stocks, right? We're gonna see if we see any reversal signals. So just pay attention for the time being. And I will actually do this. I'm gonna go that. A lot of plays on volatility coming out today. It looks like a lot of people trying to buy some volatility as of right now. SPY for now, just looking for that 2 hour to curl up. I think if that 2 hour curls up, it still could mean positivity, even though that PCC is low and the dollar is higher. I want to see if that dollar is going to back off. The reason I'm paying attention to the dollar backing off here is because of the structure it would build. Left, head, right shoulder. I think that would be a great look. I think that would be a fantastic look. Yeah, I made 75% off of that, so pretty solid gain there from GME. I'll take my gains in those while it lasts, you know. I still own the stock, right? I still own other things. I still, you know, I rolled out the option that I bought for my birthday for AMC. I just rolled that into late next month, or late next month. I guess it's still August. So it's like, hey, I can buy and sell this one back and forth and not feel too bad. I still have some exposure there. Yeah, we have a shortened week next week as well. Dow starting to turn down from this area. These are reversal signals, okay, for the Dow. Let me go look at this real quick. So let's go see if that's popping up anything here. Let's go look at this guy real quick. Let's look at that 2 hour, and we're going, ooh, that looks like some weakness coming in for that guy, doesn't it? And that has slightly confirmed. Thinking about it. Might look at the shorter signals here. I think this is a pretty good setup, though. A lot of 30-minute divergence here. Hasn't curled over yet, so maybe I got to be a little bit patient with it, but this is saying, hey, that 2 hour can curl over. That 2 hour is already saying, hey, I have some weakness here, so the daily can start to roll over. What's the problem with the daily rolling over? You got a massive divergence at this point. This is what I think the overall market will do, by the way. I think this will start to confirm in the market, right? The SPY showing a similar signal. I think you just have maybe a potential for a move up. So something with the SPY really need to pay attention to, that daily crossing down. I think we still have potential to make some kind of 2 hour signal to the upside, right? 2 hour signal pops up like this. That would look a lot like the Dow at this moment, right? The 2 hour signal just above the all-time high. I think that would make a lot of sense. That kind of showing its face for the Dow. So very, very good to point that out. Thank you guys for keeping me in check on looking at the Dow. I love it. As far as the keys go, you're looking for a, I would say, similar thing for that, as well as we look for if the Qs are going to cross up and go positive. But just note, again, we have to keep it in our mind. The PCC is really low. We're kind of up towards the daily expected move, and the dollar is higher while the market's higher. So that tells you some insiders were selling overnight. As we look forward as well, looking at things like Apple showing a pretty solid reversal signal here. Now we have to see that proven in the price action. We got to see that daily rotate over. So that's something to pay attention to. Tesla looking like, hey, I'm still trying to curl up on a 2 hour. Amazon looking like, hey, I'm curling up on a 2 hour right now. So Amazon actually in about an hour and a half going to give possibly the reversal signal here, the swing trade signal here. Pay attention to the positioning of the MACD. That is still pretty close to the center line, so that can make a big move. Watch out for divergence above us. NVIDIA, we're looking for the same thing. Remember, the structure to head higher for NVIDIA was this type of look. That's what we were really leaning towards, left head, right shoulder. Earnings did not mess this up enough. I think they actually want NVIDIA probably to head to the upside. Maybe just the orders were too much to the call side, that they had to make some people lose some money first. So just paying attention to a 2 hour rolling up. But as the Dow sees weakness and the dollar starts to cross up on that daily MACD, we always got to be aware of some downside. So AMD as well, trying to give that swing trade signal. Meta trying to give that swing trade signal, kind of falling flat a little bit here. Microsoft trying to give that swing trade signal, not really seeing downside plays just yet. Google really dropping off here and then trying to build back up. So if that 2 hour curls up, we still have to say positivity most likely option might have just been a trap. Netflix had some good reversal signals in it, but now it's piling up in this area. So if that 2 hour crosses up, we can see another extended move higher. We'll see what happens with that going forward. GameStop now up 3.21%, AMC up 1.24%. We're seeing if AMC can as well turn up on this daily chart. Just hasn't happened yet. SMCI looks like a rough one at this point. Remember this one on the 4 hours showing that divergence. If that proves itself, hey, you got a chance for some upside there. Mara, as we look at that though, dropping down on the 4 hour. We do not like when those type of things happen. You really need Mara to start to curl back up on a 2 hour, right? It still has 3 hours and 30 minutes for that to post. So you can pay attention to this 2 hour. If that curls up before that 4 hour bar posts, well, that would mean to me, hey, positivity is a likely option here. And that's not going to cross. Oil screaming down as well. We go over and look at oil creating the lower high and really starting to reject from our zone. Very, very good zone. First of all, we can notice that we've made this zone pretty correctly. We tried to hold above it, but we can't. We break back below it. We react on the bottom of it, try to bounce, didn't happen, fall lower, try to get out of it again. Oh, we hit the top of it, bounce back down, use the bottom as support. This zone we're seeing a bunch of reactions from, so I like it. And once we break through it again, well, now it's starting to look like more downside, right? We're starting to chop this low. 2 hour has just crossed. So if we're going to turn up, you need to kind of turn up right now. If we're going to go lower, which looks like the most likely option at this point, then, hey, bottom of this little channel here, I believe, right? We're kind of, or I guess it would be more of the wedge that's forming. Now, you did have daily divergence here, so pay attention anytime that turns back up, but this could be a flash move down, and then we'll see if that's able to turn up over time with some of that data we get next week. One thing to look at as well is, are we seeing reversal signals from the housing sector? And on the daily scale, you are seeing that reversal signal. Obviously, you can always get one more move back up, right? The timing can be slightly off. That would be a 2 hour curls up, positive territory, creates the divergence right here. But you also have to say this could be a cup with a handle. So there's a bullish way, there's a bearish way. We have to just pay attention to both for the most part. Affirm looking like a decent play. Whoa, Affirm was a decent play. My goodness. Did that daily have some signals here? Hey, you know, daily turnups do matter, but for the most part, you would say this isn't divergence, anything like that. It just looks like a V shape with that squeeze. So it shows you if you pay attention to the right stock during when that squeeze was being called out by people like me, well, then you can really benefit from that. That's what seems to be taking place here for Affirm with the earnings, though. So this would be a, hey, get out of jail free card, use house money, make money off of house money. I like that. Clove now approaching 250. Let's go check on Clove real quick for a second. Things starting to cross down on the daily. So that's saying bigger overall pullback. So that tells me the 2 hour was never able to curl back up, right? So since the 2 hour was not able to curl back up, daily side starts to see that momentum down. So what's happening here is the 2 hour can get more and more negative. Watch out for the lower high, right? Some kind of bounce up and then curl right back down. But for the most part, you would say daily's rolling over. So it is most likely that over the next couple of weeks, we will see Clove at lower prices at some point. And I think I really like the level of $2. $2 looks pretty nice. Q seeing that good reaction up so far. Great stuff. Let's go look over at the PCC, still very, very low, and the dollar is starting to fall off a little bit. So the structure still to pay attention to is that 2 hour pulling back. The volatility here is something to pay attention to as well. If that can curl back up on the 2 hour chart, that would be a big deal. As of right now, not seeing that though, right? We're not seeing the most reversal-like signals here. 30-minute divergence maybe. So this is what I'd be paying attention to throughout the day. Watch it by the end of the day because they could just be trapping people before a weekend. We don't like that. Ulta, we haven't looked at Ulta yet. Then we can peek back over at SoFi for a moment. Ulta coming down with the earnings. So again, you were looking for the 2-hour swing trade signal to the upside. That never happened. So no real trade to be had here. And we're noticing what? Well, the earnings is really causing some rip around moves, right? Some volatility coming in, dropping all the way down to 340, then trying to snap back, still down 2.65%. Well, it's just the most important thing is, are we curling up on a 2-hour? Are we confirming that momentum to the upside? Kind of like the Dow trying to fall off here, but are we going to actually see that downfall? Are we going to see the daily turn down, right? Qs, are we going to see that turn up to the upside? And that's something to pay attention to, because look at this. It is starting to turn up. So we have to see if that's able to cross in the next hour and a half. Tesla moving up as well, seeing if that thing can curl up on a 2-hour, right? 2-hour curl ups can go a long way. It did it on a Friday, right? Did it on a Friday. That's crazy. And they're going to go, oh, crap. No, push that thing down. As far as SoFi goes, we were just looking at this, just seeing some reversal signals in here, saying it could experience a daily pullback. For the most part, you just want to see how flat that is on the MACD, how downward it is on the RSI. So that tells you if it does roll over here, it can experience a little bit more weakness. The first one didn't work out, managed the trade. All right, maybe this is the timing, right? The right timing. Because as you can see on the RSI down here, you do have that downward move. So if you started to roll here, yes, you do not have that at the same time, I would say, on your MACD, right? Not flat even, but we can see some kind of curl down, maybe back down into something like 755 before we actually want to head higher. I don't mind that. Dollar, we just got to see if that crosses up throughout the day. Let's go back over to the Qs, put this on a 2-hour, see if we're going to curl up in the next hour or so. I think we'll keep bouncing over to this. Looks kind of trappy to me right now, though. Looks like they are positioning for a rigged move. Is that rigged move going to continue over the next few days, right? Shortened trading week. Are we going to see that continue for a few days where the dollar's higher and the market's higher? Or is it going to add up to right now, as that PCC is very, very high? Everyone's seeming to go to the call side as of right now. Let's look at something a little bit different. Looking over here at SNDL. And you're noticing what? The 2-hour is curling up. That's a good-ish sign, right? I want to see if there's any kind of daily signals in here. Not really. I'd still be mainly waiting for a daily curl up because I want daily momentum to break through these key levels, right? I want daily momentum to take me through this. You see that very easy trend line there? I want the daily momentum to confirm, and then that can tell me, hey, I have a great shot to break out of this. That's what I would say for this guy. 24 blunt trying to burn some contracts. Sounds like a rap song. 24 blunt trying to raise some contracts, cataracts. Can't see what's coming next. Oh. GM? Like General Motors? Or are you saying good morning, 30-minute looks weak, but the daily MACD is higher? Puts. Daily MACD is higher here. What you're looking for is the, it's like a V-shaped cup and handle almost. I would say more so even maybe some kind of head and shoulders. You see this nice dip down, see the head, see that dip down for that right shoulder. I think the daily scale turning down here would make sense. Let's see if we have some 2-hour signals behind this. And not so much, right? Not the best signals in the world, but you do have signals that say we're pretty cooked to the upside. One little divergence on the 2-hour, so that 2-hour can really pull back, maybe curl back up. That would be a nice look from this guy here. Very, very cool. I like it. Look like AMC options started to pop for a split second there, and then they get smashed right back down. Just looking for that daily to cross. It could happen anytime, right? We've kind of broken through some consolidation, maybe for a fake out. We'll see what happens going forward. Z-Man. Let's look at that 10-year, 2-year. About 0.04 away from uninverting. DJT, I actually kind of like the play for DJT, not gonna lie. I don't mind this whatsoever. Seems like a daily divergence is setting up here. If you see a curl up, that can mean good things, right? I could see a daily curl up here. That would be a solid move in my opinion. I think it's gearing up for a big move, but is that going to happen? Well, we need some inclination that that's going to happen, and that would be if this daily can turn back to green. It says, hey, we got a good shot. And if you look in the shorter time frames, the 2-hour had these signals, okay? So if you curl up on this 2-hour, you do have divergences down here, all right? So yeah, DJT is saying, hey, I'm gearing up. I could see a big move. That's what DJT is telling me from a momentum perspective. It's saying, hey, I have good probability that this is going to turn back around. Obviously, if this 2-hour would get close to that center line and roll back down, what's the most likely thing to happen if that 2-hour rolls down? You're going lower, right? Continue the negative trend. But if that confirms up and can sustain it, and then you see that daily turn up, well, now you have daily divergence as well, and you can continue to the upside. I like the look of it for the most part. I haven't liked the look of it a ton. I've been seeing all these divergences just saying like, hey, this thing could reverse around at any time. Ooh, we get a nice move here, and then you go, oh, one more time. All right, my timing was a little off. Later on, you know, late dated options expiration is always a good thing in my book. Nokia. No real reversal signals for the most part. Your 2-hour is just pretty cooked. I'd really like to see a better 2-hour pullback, not just a squeezing 2-hour pullback. And the daily scale pretty cooked as well. So anytime you could see maybe some kind of reaction to get back to connect with one of these moving averages before heading higher, I think a pullback would be likely, especially with a hammer candle like that one. Yeah, Lizard saying, hey, I like it. I think I'm going to stack some of it, and I think that's fine. But yeah, this one here, that's a reversal candle there. It's a hammer candle. So we'll see if that's able to pull back, maybe reconnect with a certain level here, right? The breakout area. Go fill a gap or something, and then turn back up. Look for that 2-hour to pull back. Volatility, I think it's the 30-minute chart's important for volatility right now. If this starts to turn up, I wouldn't be too excited for upside in the market. We could see some more rip arounds, and maybe this is an overall trap. Then we'll see if the dollar backs off while that happens, but for the most part, you would say not the best signal in the world. If this would confirm up, it would mean maybe not the best things for the SPY, maybe even for the Qs. Not even able to confirm up on a 30-minute right now for the Qs, by the way. You see how that's close? It's very, very close, but it hasn't. All right, Short Friday's trying to come up with a new trading strategy today. Let's go. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Looks like the Dow making another little upward move. We'll see if that is able to prove to be anything very, very good. As of right now, it's just the Dow does not look strong. Like, to someone who trades the Dow a bunch, just tell me right now, does that look strong? Mark? I'm thinking this thing looks kind of like it's about to die off, but we've gotten some decent bigger pullbacks, so I'm still waiting to see if that gets like tighter and tighter. SPY hasn't curled up on that 30-minute. Qs are trying to. All right, so at this point, I'm going to take a just tiny break, go use the restroom real quick, go get some water, make sure I'm good to go on that, and I will be right back in about 2 minutes, all right? So stick around, look at some charts for me, and I will be back in 2 minutes. All right, folks, we're back. Made sure to get my water. Plenty of that. No more headaches. No more headaches, no more migraines for me. I choose not to have that. Alrighty. Got myself a nice water. Alrighty, let's get these headphones on. Ooh, these are dying actually, so we're gonna go headphones off. Gotta charge those. Alright, now we're right back into some here. Let's look at Short Friday's big play. Long equity shares on XYZ stock to hold for pops up, but also 90-day puts on the same XYZ stock. This way I'm risking a lot of equity, but a little option in puts. Yeah, so that would more so be how someone would like hedge, right? They invest with a certain amount of money and then they use a smaller amount of money to hedge that position with options. So what you're stating is not like a bad strategy by any means. It needs some practice. You have to be able to practice at doing it, but you've seen me do that a couple times where I take the short squeeze and then as we hit certain levels, I start to, you know what I mean? I start to build a small option position just in case things turn down. Then as I take profit, if things look like they're reversing, then I can turn that into a position later on. So you're looking at gold. All right, gold, what are you gonna do? Well, gold as of right now turning down on that 30 minutes saying, hey, I have some weakness here. So if this starts to escalate, you can start to fall down a little bit quicker. Dollar can start to see that upside. I think one thing that'll be really hinting is I want to keep paying attention to the Dow. I really want to keep paying attention to this because the Dow has been leading a lot of moves in the market actually. You're going to swing some baba. And I think the other thing is volatility just going to turn up on this 30-minute? I think this 30-minute signal can give us a lot of insight of what can potentially happen. 30-minute turns up, uh-oh, then 2-hour can turn up. Then if the 2-hour turns up, uh-oh, the daily could turn up. You got to pay attention to the daily scale here. It's getting closer and closer. These two lines are getting closer together. So all you need is like 1 or 2 reactions from volatility and boom, some bad things start to happen. SPY starts to curl over on a daily MACD with some kind of double top. Apple starts to curl over on a daily MACD. Tesla starts to curl down on a daily MACD like it already has. Amazon, seeing that break to the upside, that's a good thing. That's rejecting it. That's telling you the 2-hour might want to rotate up here. That's a good sign. NVIDIA saying, hey, maybe I want to rotate up here, but did I cross on my daily yet? Right? It needs to turn up like today, or else you can see some major weakness going into next week. That would not be pretty, and that's where you want to make sure you are subscribed, you have those daily expected moves, and maybe even join the Patreon, okay? We're going to be doing some cool stuff over on Patreon. I'm going to try to be putting out a lot more content, so now is a good time to join that Patreon as we go into the end of the month. We're going to do a little video on those monthly expected moves, all right? So we give out the monthly expected moves. That means where a stock is supposed to land with a 68% confidence there. So good time. Always at the end of the month, it's a good time to join that Patreon because you get pretty much the most value of it early on. So this weekend is like the best time to join as you get those monthly expected moves. You can start to make a plan for your next month. You can look at signals around those monthly expected moves. It's kind of like with NVIDIA, if we have a monthly expected move down towards 106.50 and up towards this area, and you see this daily MACD cross, what's the most probable thing to happen? Oh, well, NVIDIA's most probable thing is it's going to go down towards what? 106, right? That level that I just marked off. Now, that's not holding true right now. We'll see with how those actual monthly expected moves come up, but that can be how to use them, and I like it. We're going to go over some monthly charts. I'm going to put that out on Patreon over the weekend once I do update those ranges. So look forward to it, Diana. It's going to be fun. We'll probably remind you in our Saturday video that we're updating those ranges. Down so much, I will do better in the future. Hey, I like the last comment. I like everything that you said there, Short Fridays, because it tells me you're taking accountability. A lot of people would lose money and they'd immediately blame the stock. They'd immediately blame the market. They'd immediately blame this. It's very easy to blame the market. It's very easy to blame the market. We know it is a rigged game a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time we see some rigged behavior like we do today, how the market's higher, but selling is coming in, the dollar crossing up. It seems like they're trying to trap people. Okay, awesome. Is that going to extend for a few days? So for what I'm trying to get at here is a lot of people can't even come to the conclusion like, I am the reason. I'm hearing a lot of I did this, I did this, I did this. And I actually like to hear that because it means you're taking accountability. And when you take accountability, it means you have the opportunity to change, right? You're acknowledging things you did wrong, and now you can go forward and try to change those little habits that might be going wrong, right? And you've probably seen this over the past month or so. Even though I have taken trades, you've gotten to see good examples of me being patient at certain times. And then I still take little plays, right? I still took this little GameStop play and I was able to make a little bit of money off that. That's perfectly fine. But for the most part, am I risking a bunch of money? No, I'm being very patient for my next big play. I made plenty of money out of a short squeeze, so why would I put that at risk? And I like that. So I would give yourself a pat on the back and maybe write down some of those things that you just wrote in the chat. I would screenshot that, put it on your computer, make it your background, say these are the things that I'm not going to do. I'm going to be patient. Pretty much it's when I have that feeling of I'm not being patient enough, right? Ooh, I'm a little bit gutted here. Something's in my gut and maybe I should continue to be patient. Am I really seeing this curl up? Is that confirming? It's not. Okay, I need to be more patient. And it's great. Time is the number one thing that you have to get control of in the market, right? You have to control it with your expiration. You have to control it when you buy a stock. You have to control it when that move doesn't happen fast enough. You have to manage your trade. So I really like that statement. I think a lot of people can learn from that right there. BNRG is up like crazy. Yeah, you're going to always wish. I would say it's not necessarily good for your mentality to be looking at things like this and being like, oh, I wish I was in that. Like, of course you wish you were in this. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I was in this. But to say, like, I'm going to look at all these ones and just look for the biggest mover and look at it every day and then be mad about it, it's kind of like bad for my mental. What I want to do is focus on something that maybe has a good trade setup and then go from there. Like look at the Dow right now, showing you some reversal type signals. Look at the SPY if that would curl over on the daily chart. Look at Apple right now as it's making a 2-hour divergence signal. If that crosses down, it's got a good chance. And if it can break through 225.84, you might cut through all this chop right in here and end up going to the downside pretty quick. So is that an opportunity, right? You're looking more for opportunities based on probabilities, not trying to get things exactly right at all times. You're trying to play the game, make a little bit of money throughout it, right? The slow way is the fast way. That's what we say a lot of the time on this channel. Exactly. That's a good thing to say, Lizard. Nobody can predict exactly what's going to happen the next day. Now, we can put ourselves in a position where a higher probable move is there, a signal is there that we can then follow. That's why we say let the charts do the trading for you. You just push the buttons. If you can just get to the point where you're kind of like I am, I can look at a chart for 2 seconds, know exactly what I'm looking for. Is there a good setup? No. Okay, move on to the next one. There's a good setup here. What do I need to actually get into that trade, right? What's the exact moment that I need to plan out where I get into a trade? And I would say something with Apple, I think this is good to pay attention to. I think it's a good learning experience because this is kind of what we go over in the course and it can make things pretty damn clear. If this would curl down, that would be the moment. That's my trigger. If this goes like that, that's my trigger to say, okay, this has high potential to curl over a daily chart. And then I just have to go, okay, but if that 2 hour or even an hourly turns back up, or maybe it turns back up a little bit sooner on the hourly, then am I going to still be in that play? Well, an hourly turning up means momentum is going up, means the price will go up. So why would I still have shorts at that point? If this isn't going to roll over, what's going to happen, right? I can go through all of those things in my head very quickly. If that 2 hour is going to roll over, or going to roll down, then what can't happen on this 30-minute today? Well, it can't roll back up, because if that's rolling back up, the 2 hour has no shot of rolling back down. No shot. So yeah, once you start to think that way, once you can do that very quickly, you can react very quickly. That's always good. You can get good at those shorter time frames. If you want to get good at that, if you're not good at that, be honest with yourself. If I'm not good at finding those things on a 30-minute chart or understanding it on a 30-minute, zoom out. Right? Your plays are going to take longer, right? And maybe they don't make as much money. Maybe you don't have 20 plays in a month, but you might have one good trade per month. And if that trade is 100%, you just got 100% in 1 month. It's like, okay, you just maybe grew your portfolio. Say if you have $10,000, you put $1,000 into a trade because you're only using 10%, like we discussed a little bit in the course, or maybe you're only even using $100. Well, now you have $10,000 and $100 or $200. And it's like, okay, that is growth. And if you continue to do that over time and really manage that risk and be very accountable for your trading, we can be good. I think you know exactly what's going on, Short Fridays. We love having you here. You're a lot of fun in the chat. I really appreciate you being here. And I think the fact that you're able to say that is a very good thing. And my hat's off to you, genuinely. Dow starting to see Dow already giving the 30-minute signal. That's what we like to see. What are we looking for? Well, the 2 hours rejecting here, so I really have to watch this 30-minute and go, okay, if that really starts to see weakness here, that can start to turn down a daily chart. All right, it can, because of the rejection on the 2 hour. Then what I want to see is if this 30-minute completely bases out and just turns back up, I go, okay, if that's turning up, does the daily chart have a chance to curl over right now? No. So maybe it's just my timing. Maybe we're going to go taper off a little bit more, right? You notice this, we're heading up, right? We're going like this. Then we go like this, a little slanted, right? And then maybe we go flat or even down a little bit, make a lower high, and then we start to turn down. I like it, Cass, and I think that's true. Any strategy can really work. Like if you are someone who just, swing trades, any strategy can work. Thinking they're gonna dump the complex, I'll take care of it and report back to you. You go have fun, money making market. Awesome, Just Joe. We love your updates. I do read all of Just Joe's updates, by the way. I love someone that just comes in, they're like giving updates. I think it's cool. IWM, we can go look at this for a second. What does this look like? Well, right now it looks like maybe a lower high, right? Maybe a lower high. So if that curled down on the 30-minute, that wouldn't be a good sign. So that's something to pay attention to. The SPY, looking like what? Ooh, maybe it wants to curl up on a 30-minute, but it's not, and it might run into some problems as we get to a daily expected move where people could be trapped, right? That's what I like to see a lot with rigged moves, a trap. I like a trap first, like something that can really trap someone, and then we see that behavior, right? I like going to a daily expected move. Dollar still curling up, still holding at the top of our zone. You do have some 30-minute reversal signals, but I really like the 2 hour for the most part for this. And I think a 2 hour backing off like this, some positivity in the market would make sense if that would happen. Or if we start to sell off and the dollar, pulls down pretty dramatically at the same time as the market, maybe we're going to see multiple rigged moves in a row, right? I have to be open to that. I have to be aware of that. Very, very cool. Yeah, it's pulling back before the earnings, and someone actually mentioned, and just to clarify one more time, was the earnings delayed until the 10th of September, or is that still coming out next week? Okay, so September 10th, so we do have some time there. And that will be right after the jobs data. Very interesting. Yeah, Dave, and I think that's not a bad thing to think about. I really do. Definitely best channel of teaching and strategy that I have found anywhere since 2020, and all of the members here are cordial and respectful, and I'm pretty sure we all love Firehouse subs. Oh wait, oh, Short Fridays is here. Thank you for the $20. As a thank you for the $20, I'm going to show you something. I have a gift for you, Short Fridays. I have a gift for you. Let me download these real quick. Okay. Give me a sec. Give me a sec, guys. This is for Short Fridays. Uh-oh. And then... uh-oh, we crushed it. It was actually really good. I actually really enjoyed it. And someone else kind of wanted a bite, too. And we did do a small donation to the first responders as well when we did go there. So thank you guys so much for your donations to treat me to a nice lunch, and thank you so much, Short Fridays, for suggesting I try Firehouse subs for the first time, because it was fantastic. Thank you for the $20. If you hear the ding, I don't have my headphones on, but Ari had a meatball sub. My daughter had a little bit of my wife's meatball sub. Gotta stay warm. That's also a funny thing I will say. Sometimes after I eat the hook and ladder, I also get headaches, especially while I'm sleeping. True story. Weird. Maybe that's why I got a headache. That was a couple days ago, though. So I meant to show you guys that yesterday, but then I got the headache and I was like, oh God. I've never been to Jersey Mike's. Now I have to go there. Now I have to go to Jersey Mike's. We got to compare. Can you please check out a 10-year treasury? Because I'm in the process of buying a house. And if you could, please give you guys some insight into what's going on. So my brother asks me about this stuff all the time. And I would just say this. Not only are you paying attention to the yield, but I think everyone, Jess, and this is something you can take into consideration, make sure you're looking at price and yield, not just yield, because that yield can come down, right? That yield can come down, even though we're seeing it curl up here and we could see an upward move. That yield is down, and that could convince you like, oh, even though, you know, prices haven't come down, at least I'm getting a better yield. What I would encourage you to think about is why buyers are not showing up in droves right now if that yield is lower. Even though some buyers have stepped in, we still have a moment where the housing market really needs to see serious buyers step in. And I want to show you something on the housing sector to get this point across, Jess. Yes, the yields can come down, and most likely they will come down pretty rapidly as we start to cut those rates, right? They most likely will come down unless we see some kind of spurt of inflation or something like that. So you have to pay attention to it, but I want you to pay attention to price as well. And something you can keep on your charts, a chart to look at, is the housing sector. And I just want you to see this, because this is the scenario where not only do you see a better yield, but you also see a better price. Okay, we know that every like 0.5% down on a yield, right? I took MLO courses. I almost became an MLO before I really started this channel. I thought about doing that because my brother and I were going to start something. But for the most part, I was paying attention to, you know, how people react to yields and things like that. And I think everyone's really focused on the yield and not paying attention to something bad that could happen, which is the actual price of homes come down. And that is what you're seeing in cities in Texas. That's what you're seeing in cities like Florida. So is this a good moment in the current time to buy a house? Price, no. I would say for the yield, slightly better, right? Pretty good, right? But at any time, you could see this just go like this. Boom, and you cross down on this MACD, and guess what? The housing sector is now in a downtrend, and now that home that you just bought loses tons and tons of value. And I don't want that to happen to a lot of people. So I think this is a great chart if you are even looking at buying a house. You're not even trading stocks. If you have a friend that is trying to buy a house as well, use your knowledge to help the people around you. I'm being genuine about that, because if some of the people around me listen to some of my advice, then my parents' 401k would look better. A lot of things would look better for people if they would listen to these type of things. They never happen right away, right? You tell someone and then the housing prices slightly go up, and then they go, ah, he's wrong, and then they get in on it, and then boom, that thing curls back down, and then you see those prices really go down. So I think what people need to pay attention to right now is they're going to get caught up in yields all the time because those are changing and the prices of homes aren't changing as fast. But I'm telling you right now, if this would curl down, that not only means bad things for the stock market, but that overall means bad things for housing prices. And that can mean we're going to see a major drop. Unemployment is increasing, so you're most likely going to see more housing sales come up as people downsize. AKA, sellers will continue to increase. Will buyers be able to step in as unemployment is rising? Probably not. So if you're in a good place, you have a good job, you have a steady income, it's kind of like more of a liability to get into homes at these prices. And that sucks because I'm someone who is shopping for a house as well. And I had to come to this hard truth, right? I had to come to the hard truth of, hey, this is not a good time to buy a home, right? You guys heard, if you were part of this channel for a while, I was looking for a home and I decided, hey, I'm just going to take my liability out and just rent for a minute, right? I can rent for half the cost of actually, a mortgage pretty much right now. So I'm going to do that. And I just happened to find a good place to rent. That's why I did that. So just saying, I know that prices have remained high for a long time. That causes people to really focus on the yield. I still encourage people on this channel who are looking for a home, really focus on both. I think you're at a moment of time where you can actually buy a house soon for a good price. And it might just take you another year to get there. And you can refi, you can refinance and things like that. Oh, you're in Florida. That's rough too, because they're putting in I would really be worried about Florida, Jess. And I'm doing this. I'm gonna say this just to really bring it home for you, okay? As far as Florida goes, or I'm sorry, not Florida, California. I want to look at something for you. Okay, let's look here. I think this is one that might be going over it. Here, I'll just do this because everything wants me. I don't want to join a bunch of platforms for news. So I'm just going to bring it up in here so you can see. All right, so this right here is what you need to be aware of in California. The Senate passes a bill for eligible illegal immigrants to receive up to $150,000 and 0% interest loan for a home in the state of California. I want you to understand what that means for the prices of homes in California. That means they're trying to stimulate buyers to come in with illegal immigrants getting $150,000 potentially at a 0% interest rate loan. That tells me, hey, that's like free money pretty much for someone, right? So what does that do to the housing values in California? It really, really starts to increase the value of those homes by how much? Well, however much the buyers actually step in and use that $150,000 since it is in a loan format. But you could say $150,000 a piece for each illegal immigrant added to the California market right now would not be a good thing. And that's something I think you just need to be aware of. That is a very, very bad policy for the prices of homes. That's how I will put it. And it's funny that Americans live on the street so much in California, yet we give 0% loans to people who don't even come from here. Oh, God. Did you hear in Colorado, Venezuelan gangs are taking over? It's not only in Colorado, it's in multiple cities right now. Yeah, you can always refinance, and I hate to be like, you know, maybe even look into like the reason I like my state so much, the reason it was such an easy decision to move back to here, back to Kansas, was because of the housing market doesn't see as much of those huge fluctuations, right? The average home here, I think, is like $240,000, and it's a nice home. You can almost get $100 a square foot still, right? It's maybe 120 a square foot right now. But I'm saying in a crash scenario, now that home, maybe I'll be able to get $100 or $90 a square foot, right? If those housing prices actually do pull down. Florida has a different bucket of problems. Yours is more just based on transportation. So if I was watching Florida housing markets, I would really pay attention to, are people traveling? Are people who are working at Orlando studios or any kind of travel area, somewhere that a lot of people vacation to? Are you seeing unemployment rise there? Are you seeing people still travel to those locations? Because that's the most important thing for Florida. Yes, Dave, and that will happen as unemployment increases. So you're seeing that SOM rule start to increase. That's why we need to pay attention to September 6th. But yeah, Florida is more about travel. Exactly. It's more about tourism. So if tourism is seeing weakness, then the housing market will see weakness, then the Airbnb market will see weakness, and you could get all of those because investors mostly invest in tourism, right? So if they have Airbnbs based on tourism and that starts to fall back and fall back and fall back and they start losing money, they're going to have to sell that home. And if enough of them do that at the same time, then they'll all be competing to sell that home, meaning it will turn into possibly a buyer's market. But if the buyers aren't there still because unemployment rises, then you have a scenario where the price could just keep dropping, keep dropping, keep dropping until they're actually able to sell that home if they absolutely have to. INTC is surging. Let's go check that out real quick. I've seen Intel a couple. Whoa! Well, you like 2-hour curl ups, don't you? Because 2-hour curls up really close to the center line. And what happens later on? Some great price action to the upside, up 10%. Very, very good move from Intel here. Hurricanes disturb the tourism, but it's more so unemployment can disturb it even more than a hurricane. I'm just going to tell you right now. Hurricane, it's like, okay, now we need to stimulate, we need to rebuild, we need to do these things, and that can really put a damper on it for a little bit of time. But if you have extended periods of unemployment, that's going to be much worse. I think Miami, I think Orlando is a big one. Some states or some cities in Texas. Unemployment and bankruptcy will lead to foreclosures, and that's where you have to ask yourself, why is Warren Buffett selling so much of Bank of America, which Bank of America owns Merrill Lynch? Rough. And then who owns all of that? Well, BlackRock's behind all of it, right? Or BlackRock's in front of all of it, you would say. Right, BlackRock is probably in bed with something like Bank of America, and so you would say BlackRock might own a lot of homes. That could be a bad thing. Job losses in hospitality, yeah. Not only hospitality, I mean, at least in my city, we're now seeing some things that are causing some unemployment in the medical field as well, which is very freaky. It's like that means you could have some wait times and things like that. Holding at higher levels, doing pretty well holding at higher levels here. PCC still sitting at 0.76. We have the dollar starting to turn down. Dollar starting to turn down. So maybe the Dow is going to see one more move up on that 30-minute. Maybe the Qs actually are going to break through to the upside. We'll see. For the most part, still dollar positive, market positive. Right now, people would be trapped a little bit to the upside. Excuse me. Yeah, I know. It really looks like it's trying to break out. This is a moment to really pay attention. I like it. As far as Tesla goes, we can look at that for a moment, just see if that's still able to confirm up. It could mean a big move is coming, and guess what? There's going to be light volume again next week. So if you want to manipulate the market, you do it on a shortened trading week. So if this is able to turn up, that is. Right now you're seeing more reversal signals from the dollar and a high PCC, which is kind of telling me, ooh, watch out for reversal signals. One we can pay attention to, still the 30-minute for the volatility. 30-minute for volatility spikes up, I would be a little bit cautious for this weekend. And SPY starting to roll, so not even confirming up on a 30-minute. Q's trying to curl up on that 30-minute. We'll see if that lasts for the next 15 minutes. Looks like the Dow trying to make a downward move as well. Trying to spike up and then, ooh, falls right back down. So reversal signal for the Dow. This would tell you that the most probable thing, okay? The most probable thing from what is going on right now is the dollar is up while the market is up, the Dow is showing reversal signals, and volatility is showing a 30-minute divergence. If all of those things keep happening, then the most likely thing is downside. The most likely thing is downside. We can see some rigged, weird stuff next week with a shortened trading week, but for the most part, we would say if dailies do cross down, that's a bad thing. I'm wondering, Amazon just making such a good move here. 2-hour curling up, able to hold above 174.51. Keep our eye on it. Is anyone here feeling manipulated with AMC? Yeah, you probably are feeling a little manipulated with AMC at this point, right? And GameStop. Both of these guys are, on Fridays, they see some bad things. And I think a lot of this is trying to convince people to get out of something. I actually think September would be a great time for AMC to see some great price action. Yeah, PCC still remaining pretty low. But yeah, I think September has a great chance to see something good. And so it's funny that we're seeing major downside right before September, because that's going to convince a lot of people probably like, oh, this isn't happening, get the hell out. And then all of a sudden one day we just gap up by 100%. Dog, don't even get me started on AMC. Don't get mad at the stock, guys. The company is still performing relatively, you would say, pretty damn well for a company that's only worth $484. It has a great customer base. It has good employees. They're still paying everyone. I go there and I get a big ass pretzel every single time. Yeah, okay, we'll go back over to that for you real quick. I want to make sure everyone has those expected moves. You can always go back to the beginning of the video if you show up a little bit late, but we'll do it for you, Jackson. Here you go for the day here, which we haven't seen these touch, which tells me there might be some liquidity issues going on for the market maker. We haven't seen these dailies really tagged in a few days, but you would say 564.42 to the upside and 552.28 to the downside. It's not going to happen unless they want it to happen. That's the thing. Everyone thinks like retail, like, right? You'll see in the shit media, meaning all the media that's just pretty much on TV, you'll see them always say, oh, retail is affecting the stock. No, retail only affects the stock when they allow those orders to hit the tape. The thing that affects the stock is short sellers and market makers. That's it. Tampa's going to get hit hard. I heard Tampa, I think it was Tampa, Orlando, and Miami were the three main cities that were seeing the most weakness. And I think Tampa was higher than Orlando, actually. So I thought that was interesting. More mad at the blatant manipulation. Yeah, that's why we understand the game. We understand the game that's being played with AMC and GME. We understand it's just, hey, if you hold the stock and they want to keep suppressing it, I want you to understand too, if they keep suppressing things like AMC and GME, they're having to create even more synthetic shares, borrow more. You're actually fueling the potential for even more upside over time. And better marketing and food. I love the food. I hate theater food. I've never eaten theater food until AMC was put in my city. I like AMC's food for the most part, and mainly it's just that big ass pretzel. As we look over at Dell, you probably just heard Bruce shake his little head. The 30-minute did curl up. Was that able to curl up a 2-hour? You see the 2-hour really, really down by that center line? That's kind of a fake out move. I don't like to see that. So what I would be paying attention to is, hey, 2-hour curls up, great. If we can actually hold that, that would be great. the 30-minute curling back down is going to be a bad sign. If you're more of the day trader side, I really like figuring out money, and he is someone who uses weekly ranges as well. That's why I really like him. He uses weekly ranges and daily ranges, so someone like figuring out money, I believe he goes live. I'd hate to send you to someone else, but at the same time, I'm someone who's genuine. I want you to be successful, so if you think he is a little bit more helpful for you in your intraday, I think that's perfectly fine. If you are someone that's more on the day trader side of things, he is pretty good, I would say that. He's very, very good. I've actually really enjoyed his videos. He's one of the only people that I truly will, if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I'm a little bit confused. I'm like, hey, maybe I just need some reassurance on a play. I'll go look at his videos and see if there's a little piece in there for me, because we are a little bit different. But I really, really like him a lot. Yeah, him, FX Evolution is pretty good. But it's totally for a different thing. I mainly just like his take on, say, seasonality and things like that. Little other type of things that we don't discuss too much, right? We're mainly looking at charts, looking at how to read into indicators and momentum. But he is more so going into, in the early parts of his videos, some things that are going on with some other charts. I really like him as well. So FX Evolution, figuring out money is a great one. I highly suggest you go look at that. Even now, even if he's live, just say, hey, I was sent here from so-and-so. He really likes your channel. He suggested me look over here, and hopefully you like it. I want you to be successful. I want you to stay here. I want you to hang out with me. Hopefully I'm helpful enough. But if it's not doing, if it's not doing it for you, if it's not becoming too helpful and you need something that is a little bit more towards your style, if you're a day trader, I know we don't day trade a lot on this channel, so something like that would be good. He thinks it's imminent, but he thinks it's 12 months out. I think we have a chance for like in the next 2 weeks. So if we can make it through the next 2 weeks, then he has an argument. But I would say you have to get past that January to March too. So I think it's like if we go up from here, you got to pay attention to January, March. So if we're able to exceed over the next 2 weeks the higher prices, then you could say that could leak into January to March. Pay attention. If we get past that, then you can go all the way into maybe some kind of May sell-off or even going into October. Tammy, did you finally see the picture? I'll pull it up again, Tammy, if you need to see it. I was hoping you'd be here to see that. WF. That's fine. That's fine. You do you. Yeah, I'm more leaning towards if we can actually curl up on some 2 hours, then I have more of an argument here, right? If we can actually turn up on these 2 hours and really trap people, then I'm really leaning towards a downturn over the next couple of weeks. If we get some bad jobs data too, that is. So we'll see next week, and then we got about 2 weeks until we'll see. Oh yeah, Dave, I'm in the same thinking. 50 basis points means we're reacting because of something, not just we're reacting because we have a soft landing, right? 25 basis points says, oh, we believe in the soft landing. 50 basis points says, shit, we might have been wrong. And then you have to look at why they think they're wrong. Why? It's like, oh, well, now we see bank failures. Damn, kind of a, oh God, I hate these like, the SPY's such a dud day, or the keys in the SPY just such dud days still. I think really paying attention to what the Dow does is pretty important today. Now, I will be back on live later today. Here in about 7 minutes, I'm going to go make my wife some food, so I might have to hop off in about 6 minutes. Just want to make sure she's taken care of. She always takes care of me when I'm sick. So if she's not feeling good, I want to make sure she feels all right, or at least can get to feeling better soon. So, but we will be live later today. Make sure you're subscribed with those notifications on. Okay, Jay joined this morning. Make sure those notifications are on. All right. Oh, a REIT trading. Yeah, I've looked at little one, like other ones too. I've looked at other ones too. But for the most part, I would say those are the ones that I really enjoy watching. And I think I would more so use figuring out money if I'm like in a state where I'm like, man, I think I'm seeing the signals right here. I just need a little back here. What's he thinking is going to go on over the next, couple of weeks? Ron Walker's okay, but his timing of things, I think that's kind of his double-edged sword. It's like he is paying attention to some correct things, but he's not willing to say like, oh, this is what's going to happen if we're not going to downturn, I think. I more so don't like this about Ron Walker. It's one thing that I'm kind of critical on a lot of traders, which is traders will do this, right? They'll clone it. They'll make this. They'll say, okay, this is it. Here's the channel we're in. And then they'll keep doing this and this and this until it adds up. Right? I don't like that necessarily because it's like I'm just moving this around all the time to find that. I think if it's going to be a channel, let it be a channel. If it's not going to be a channel, don't manipulate it so it looks like a channel. I did watch, I think it was about 4 months ago, someone was telling me, and I watched a few Ron Walker videos, and I just noticed some simple things like this. He would create a thing like this and he'd connect these, and then by the next video I would see it shift down as that price action chopped down, and I'm like, okay, so every single time this goes lower, are you just going to keep going like this and just rotating and rotating and rotating? I don't like that behavior too much. But when I was watching him, I'm like, at least he's paying attention. Does it curl up or does it pull down and then curl up? Either one. I just want to see if this is able to actually confirm that. Yeah, I guess that's probably the best way to put it, just Joe. I think for the most part, what did I used to say back then? I said his macro style is pretty decent. He pays attention to the right things when key levels are being hit on the macro style. Like if he would look at the Dow right now, he'd be looking at maybe looking at, I think he likes hourlies or something, but I think he'd be looking at this and he'd be looking at this and he'd be going, hey, watch out for some bad things to happen. Right? That's what I would think he's paying attention to. All right, guys, we are hitting about to the time where I got to hop off. I'm noticing baby girl waking up, so I'm just going to take off a couple minutes early. Remember, we will be live later today, so make sure you are subscribed and have those notifications on. But thank you guys so much for showing up today. Watch out for some things going on. See if these 2 hours are really able to curl up or if those dailies are going to cross down. As of right now, we have volatility starting to curl back up. We'll pay attention to that. Dollar is still higher and the PCC is low, so a rigged move to the downside would make a little bit of sense, and we'll pay attention from there and come back at the end of the day. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for being a part of this community, and I wish you guys nothing but luck on your trades for the rest of the day, and I'll be back later today to discuss some of those moves with you guys. All right, peace out.